What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, and welcome into the first of maybe many, but this is the first ever NHL Mock Draft here on MVP Sports. I am joined for the first time. I can't say as always because this is the first time we've done this, but I am joined today with my fellow co-host, JD. JD, how you doing?
Doing great, dude.
How does it feel to be a part of MVP history today? Like, this is a monumental moment if you think about it. The first ever NHL draft content on the channel.
Kind of crazy hearing that come from your mouth right now.
It is. We've never had NHL draft content.
Yeah, I know. And this is going to be a journey for the both of us. The NHL draft was the first sports draft that I actually followed. I remember I started following it when I was like 11 years old. Obviously didn't know much about it, but
I mean, a young Canadian, you become 5 or 4 years old, they just put a hockey stick in your hand.
Pretty much. And like, I used to watch a lot of junior hockey as well, so I did recognize some of the players, and I played all the NHL video games and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with me, my foray into the NHL draft this year, pretty much this is going to be like the NHL draft. I've known about, when Patrick Kane was drafted, Sidney Crosby, Steven Stamkos, Connor David. You hear about the big guys, McDavid, Connor McJesus. You hear about the big guys. I just said Connor David.
Yeah, I was like,
get rid of the Mick. We don't need the Mick anymore. But like, this is the first time I am going to be diving into the, like, usually it would be like, I know who Connor Bedard is, but that'd be it. I'd know who the big name is. I know he'd probably be going number 1, but I wouldn't know anything else. This is my first foray into diving in analytically, talking about the NHL draft. So first off, disclaimer, JD, you can come after him. He's got all the hockey knowledge in the world. Hockey fans, be easy on me a little bit. I'm a little infant when it comes to the NHL draft. I'm crawling here. This is the one where I'm crawling. Soon I'll be walking. I'll be running like I run with the NFL and run with the NBA. But for this one, I might be crawling a little bit. I'm a little baby. Goo goo gaga, get me a pacifier. Please don't give me it. Now that I said that, I'm like, people are going to Photoshop me with a pacifier, and I don't need that Photoshop out there. But before we get started, if you do want to support us, go ahead, check that Patreon link down below, or become a channel member today. You can become a basic member like JD. We got a new patron. Welcoming Oscar into the fold. He is a new basic patron, basic membership, I should say. You can also become a plus member and get some of our videos like the Draft Room podcast 4 days early before everyone else. Also, if I didn't say it just there, thank you, Oscar, for your support becoming a patron. Also, join our Discord down below if you're a hockey fan. Go join the Discord. We have an NHL channel down there where we talk about hockey. JD just posted in it today, and we got a ton of great conversations with all the sports in the MVP Discord. That's for free. You can join that down below in the description. But JD, with this draft, how we're going to do it is we have a couple things that we'll elaborate more on, but for the most part, it's going to be, we're just doing the top 16, so this is just a lotto mock draft. We're gonna leave the playoff teams to do their thing, even though some of them are already done. And JD, some of them might be done sooner rather than later. Yep. Tuesday night might be it Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday night might be a sad night for JD. Both of us had Toronto in 7.
No, I had Toronto in 6, I think.
No, you had Toronto in 7. I'm looking at it right here.
Hey, it's possible.
You had Toronto in 7, so will we be right? Will we be wrong? Who knows? So we're going to roll through the picks. We're switching off. I will start number 1, and then we'll switch off from there. We'll kind of give short explanation why we're picking each for, or why we picked for that team. But JD, the first thing I want to mention before we get into the picks is the lottery itself. I was watching the lottery while on the phone with my girlfriend, and before it started, I asked her, I said, who's the team? Give me a non-playoff team who is going to get the number 1 pick. and her being a Golden Knights fan who just watches the Golden Knights, said the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I said, the Lightning made the playoffs. She's like, they did. I'm like, pick again. And she's like, the Blackhawks, because I live in Chicago. And I was shocked. I actually popped because I was like, oh, the Blackhawks got the pick. I'm not even a Blackhawk fan anymore. And I was excited just because she got it right. However, JD, I'm going to ask you this question before we get into like actual picks. Was this rigged? Did they give the Blackhawks the first overall pick? Because, last time they picked number 1, they picked Patty Kane. Who did the Blackhawks trade this year? Patty Kane. Was it a handshake agreement? Hey, put Patty Kane on a playoff team. We'll give you Connor Bedard. Or is it even a, like you had mentioned before we started recording, that Bettman loves when the Blackhawks are good because they make the league money. And it's like, oh, let's just give you Connor Bedard so that you guys start making us that moolah again.
Well, since this is like our first step into the hockey aspect, I'm going to preface this. I'm usually somebody who just says, nah, the draft isn't rigged.
Full conspiracy theories. Let's go.
But honestly, I think this is the first time I actually think it was kind of rigged because, like Ricky just said, Gary Bettman absolutely loves the Blackhawks. He probably grew up a Blackhawks fan. I don't even know, but it wouldn't surprise me. And I think it's just a little too much of a coincidence that, they get rid of their stars. Jonathan Toews might not play ever again. And you just had a dynasty now come to an end. Oh, here's the greatest prospect since Connor McDavid for you guys to just keep on going. So, I mean, it's a little fishy, but
I'm full conspiracy. I think they did give the Blackhawks this pick, but I'll say for a while watching each team come in, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, this is going to go chalk. The NHL is going to be like, hey, we know Bedard is the best prospect since Connor McDavid. We're just going to let it go chalk and the standings will speak for themselves. And then they gave it to the Blackhawks. That's why I'm like, oh, they rigged it and gave it to the Blackhawks.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something because I saw a lot of confusion about this on Twitter. Now, if you were listening to the draft lottery with volume, you would have heard Kevin Weeks say before they cut to break with the top 3.
Yeah.
Oh, the first slide of the night is the Blue Jackets moving down to 3. Now, a lot of people assumed that, okay, so it's rigged then. Let's remember, those guys know the order of the draft before it happens, like before we see it on TV.
Who are you talking? Are you talking? Because I didn't listen to it with sound. Are you talking about TV announcer, or are you talking about
So Kevin Weeks was the guy. Because you saw it on the NHL Network, right? Like that was.
I was watching it without sound because I was on the phone with my girlfriend. I was watching it on the ESPN broadcast that was right before the Oilers Knights game.
Okay, so if you were watching it on the NHL Network, before Bill Daly or whatever, before he was there, Kevin Weeks, who was a former goalie, said, "Oh, the first slide of the night is." The Blue Jackets moving down. Those guys already know the order of the picks. Like, especially if you're in the NHL Network, they know beforehand. So people are like, oh, it's rigged. See, it's rigged. No, the draft, they probably pulled the lottery balls about, I don't know, like an hour before everything went live.
I mean, how they present things, and the NBA does this too. They want you to think they pull it and then, the results just come out of the room. Yeah. Let's be honest. They could have pulled that at noon today. Exactly. Said, we're going to do it today. And then, in order to give the TV, that to me doesn't seem like it's rigged. No. To me, seeming like it's rigged is it's just too many coincidences of Patty Kane was the last time they got number 1. They traded him this year. Exactly. They wanted Patrick Kane to be on a good team. The Rangers wanted, they were linked to Patrick Kane the entire season. Then magically they got Patrick Kane for nothing. So that's why to me where I'm like, okay, it might be a little rigged. However, JD, let's go ahead and start making these picks. And I we'll take the graciousness. Actually, not the graciousness. I asked JD, does he want odds and evens? And JD said, I'll take evens. So that's why we're starting with me first. But the first team off the board, on the board, the Chicago Blackhawks. They are going to go with none other than goalie. No, I'm kidding. It's Connor Bedard, center. Like, it's I wanted to shock you. Could have been a goalie. I don't know. Could have been. They might need a netminder. Their netminders this year weren't that great. No, it's Connor Bedard. It's very easy. It's him. Like, this could not have been an easier pick for me to make, because when you got a guy like Connor McDavid at the top, a guy like Sidney Crosby, going NBA, if you got a LeBron James sitting there at the top, you're going to go ahead and take him.
Exactly. And like you said, right there with Connor McDavid, Connor Bedard is the best prospect since Connor McDavid. A lot of people think he could be better than McDavid. Now, the only thing that I think is holding him back from being as good as McDavid is his size, since he is only 17, but he's only 5'10", 176, I think. So he'll play in the NHL right away, but I think they might start him on the wing, the Blackhawks, because you don't see many centers who are under 6 foot and as small as him. So I think to start him out, they might start him on the wing, or he might just be a career winger, which isn't bad. Like, he's gonna put up his points, he's gonna score, he's gonna be electric to watch on TV or in the stands. He's gonna be like, again, there's not many players who are gonna be like him. He is like, he's unreal, especially now. Like, back in the day, like, just with how hockey's growing now in terms of like how it's played, he's everything you want. He's fast, he's good with the puck, he can shoot, he can pass, he's has elite hockey IQ. So I mean, the Blackhawks, well, they got the perfect guy to start their potential dynasty going forward.
And I'm looking up right now, I wonder, man, he does not look that tall on the ice. Jonathan Toews is 6'2".
Yeah.
He does not look 6'2" to me on the ice. Yeah, he's even 6'2", 201. So it's like, yeah, this was an easy pick. Like, the Blackhawks, though, like, I feel like they're a team that's, as long as they're getting the best player, like, they're a team that Toews is probably done because of the long COVID issue. Kaner's gone, obviously. This is a team that the remnants of Stanley Cup teams are finally gone. Sharp is no longer there. Assad's been gone for a hot minute. Duncan Keith was traded years ago. Like, all of these players have now kind of cycled out, and they get to start with the best player in the draft to now, okay, here's the post-Toews and Kane Hawks, the Connor Bedard Hawks, and let's see how they look. But number 2, JD, this was your pick. The Ducks should have been 1. They go to 2. What are your thoughts on the Ducks? Who are they taking?
So the Ducks are taking Adam Fantilli, the center out of Michigan. So the reason why, like, Adam Fantilli is, like, besides Connor Bedard, he has the next highest chance to be a franchise center for the Ducks. They got a good prospect pool currently, and this just adds to it. He's not going to play for them right away. Because he's going to be playing for Michigan for at least a year or two. But he's exactly what you want. He can shoot the puck. He's a good goal scorer. He has good vision. He's a strong skater. I'm looking at right here. He's 6'2", 187, and he's only going to grow, or gain weight, I should say. And he's exactly what you want if you're the Ducks. Like, again, obviously, if you're a Ducks fan, you wanted Connor Bedard, of course. But Adam Fantilli in any other draft, he's the number 1 player in the draft. So having him, and then having him go to Michigan, a lot of these players are now, like, going the NCAA route. Yeah, which is good, because now you're starting to get more and more competition there, compared to if you play in the juniors for the for Canada, like the CHL, then you're playing a lot of guys who aren't going to crack the NHL. But in the NCAA, it's still the same, but especially for Americans, it's it's where you go if you're elite, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he can score, he can pass. He's good defensively. So I think he's just a jack of all how's that saying go? Jack of all
Jack of all
spades.
trades.
Trades, yeah, there you go.
Jack of all trades. Yeah, I will say though, I feel sorry for Duck fans. I feel for you because to be that team that had the number one pick, you were bad enough to be the number one pick, and then now you're like, in most drafts, it's like, okay. But in a draft like this, it's like, all right, this hurts. And I hope that the Ducks are still able to get a guy that basically, like, you're not going to find a guy like Connor Bedard, but Duck fans, I know it doesn't help, but I feel for you, even though my team last time they were in this situation in the NBA, the Bulls did the exact same thing. I want to say to the Miami Heat because the Heat were number one, and then we jumped up to take it from them. So my sympathy is with you guys. Number 3, JD, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Should have been 2. They fall to 3. And this is a team that, so my mindset and kind of what I go with, because like I said earlier in the podcast, I'm an infant here. I'm in my infancy stage. And when it comes to me with drafts, I first go to the need. Okay, what's the need? And then verse that with BPA. And at first I was looking, and it's everywhere is saying that the Columbus Blue Jackets need a winger, more importantly, a left wing. And I looked, and it's like, okay, the thought process was they're not going to go with anybody past either Carlson or Mitchkov. It's either going to be one of those two guys. But who do they go with? Do they go with the guy who's listed as a center wing? Probably will be more of a center, but could play wing. Or do they go with the kid out of Russia who is listed just as a winger? And after talking to you about it, I'm going to settle on Leo Carlson, BPA, but also it's like what you're telling me, and this is me getting a lot of information from JD in this new stage I'm in, learning about the hockey draft. Center is the most important position. You want a lot of good centers, especially on your first and second lines. And Leo Carlson for sure will be either might be a wing, but could play the center for you. Is the size that you want. Might need to bulk up a little bit, but even at 194, like Connor McDavid's 193. So that's not but he's 6'3".
Yeah, and he's only 18. He can definitely get up to probably 210 if he really tried.
Yeah, so I look at it and it's like, at first I was like, oh, but the need is winger. You know what? Go with Leo Carlson. Just go BPA. Get the best guy on the board. And I think it's very easy for the Blue Jackets with that of just, hey, you might want to go Mitchkov, but I went ahead and Leo Carlson from, what is he, Canadian? He's Sweden. He's from Sweden, going with the Swede at number 3. JD, that brings you up with number 4, the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, I'm just, again, that's kind of chalk right now. I'm going Matavi, Mitchkov. I mean, the Sharks are another team that just need talent, and Mitchkov can provide some scoring. He's a good, I feel like right now in his early career, he's a little bit more of a playmaker on the wing, but he has an elite shot. He has a great shot. So I think once he gets into the Sharks, assuming they draft him, once he gets into the Sharks organization, they'll fine tune his shot mechanics and get him more confident with it. And I think he'll be more willing to use it. And I think it's a shot that can easily beat most NHL goalies. So the Sharks need talent. They need a goal scorer now that they traded Timo Meier away. So, Mitchkov, you're up. And I think he honestly could play right away. He's not too small, so I think he could come in and play day one for the Sharks.
Really, if you're a top 5 guy, if you're a top 5 pick in the draft, it's not for sure, but there's a pretty good chance you're playing right away your first year in the NHL. Right?
It depends on again, if you go to college,
Mm-hmm.
like if you're a college prospect, then
Let's
no.
say you're like Mitchkoff, where you're like what, an 18, gonna be 18-year-old kid by the draft. Yeah, he's
It
18, almost 18 and a half. Like,
it
if you're a top
really
five pick though, like,
it really just depends on how big you are. Because
mhm.
if you're like 6 foot, like
if,
170,
if you're shrimp gang
then
for life.
yeah, then you're not gonna play because you're just gonna get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the right body type and you're just too good, because you also got to think about with these NHL contracts,
Mm-hmm.
they want to like it's a business, right? So
Yeah.
they want you to be on their team for as long as possible. So if they can send you down and not give you that contract
Mm-hmm.
right away, then they teams will be willing to do that and then tank for another year. Like
Yeah.
especially in the Sharks situation where they're not going to be a playoff team next year, you would imagine. So they might keep him down if they choose to do that, then they'll just be tanking for next year.
I mean, that's a good point. It's like you don't want those NHL guys going like, "Hey, you're a certified shrimp bud. You're a certified shrimp buddy." Um, Next brings up the Canadians, JD, and this pick actually had a conversation piece that I wanted to kind of ask, but let me go into it. So I was thinking yet again, two prospects on the board. It's either Zach Benson, the Canadian, or Will Smith, the American. And depending on personal boards, right now I'm using Tankathons as like my default. They have Benson above Smith, both of them on the same tier though. You look at the Canadians, and from this year, they did have, in my opinion, two centers that I thought played well. They had Suzuki and I'm going to screw up the name. It's not, I want to say Dash, but it's not Dash, it's Doc, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I always say Kirby Dash, and I know that's wrong. Kirby Doc. But thinking about it, I'm like, okay, because they have those two guys, maybe could go BPA, go Zach Benson. But thinking about it, thinking about what you said, okay, center's most important. You got a kid here in Will Smith who not only is bigger, so Benson's listed as winger center. Not only is Smith bigger than him, but he's got more size to him. Even at 172, would like maybe if he got up into the 180s, maybe low 190s is probably ideally where you would want him and potentially could do that for size. Yes, he's going to be actually Will Smith committed to Boston College. So yet again, hey, and that's who I'm going to go with, Will Smith, because here's the thought process. Draft him. He goes plays for Boston College. Even if we're not good next year, we can keep chugging along, get another pick, get him. He could maybe be the center of the future for us in the top 5, and we could then get another high pick to build this team. Because, JD, it kind of seems like the Canadians, and this isn't what I wanted to talk about, this is a point that I just wanted to make first, is it's kind of weird that COVID years, they're in the playoffs, eliminating the Leafs from the playoffs, and now they're in the top 5 of the NHL draft. Seems like a quick turnaround for a Canadians team that was once in the playoffs and high in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt because you weren't following hockey as much, but that year the Canadians shouldn't have even been a playoff team.
It was the NA. We had the Americans and the Canadians.
Yeah, exactly. And like the Canadians, that team was horrible. Like that team was atrocious.
Not horrible enough to lose to the Leafs, though.
No, because
knife
the Leafs sucked.
turned.
The Leafs sucked. But also, like Carey Price was on a mission, and again, you like I was talking to you. When it comes to the draft, center is the most important position. That's what teams really value.
Yeah.
But in reality, goaltending is the most important position. You can have an absolute trash team, but the best goalie in the league, and yeah, you'll sneak into the playoffs, winning games 1-0. So,
I mean, think about the Kings when they were on their cup runs. Is like they weren't a bad team, but who was the star of that team? Jonathan Quick.
Yeah. So no, you're right, Jonathan Quick, exactly. But like, with the Canadians though, like, I mean, this is just who they are right now. They're a rebuilding team, just accumulating prospects because at the start of their rebuild, like most teams, their prospect pool was horrible. Like, it was bottom of the league. They're just trading them all for actual players. And yeah, now they have a really good prospect pool, and they'll be good within a couple of years,
Well,
probably sooner rather than later.
the thing I did want to ask you about the Canadians is like looking at the draft up to this point, this could be the first pick where things don't go chalk. Pretty much to up to our point, you look at a big board, you look at our top 4 picks, they're pretty much almost the same.
Yeah.
Most people have Benson then as the 5th best prospect on the board. In your mind, if you had the pick, would you still have gone Smith, or is there a case for them to draft Benson instead of Will Smith?
I think there's a case, but I would go Will Smith. I just think he's too good of a player to pass up.
Okay.
Even though most people, I think most people have Benson over Smith because Benson's a better skater. But and a lot of teams do value that. If you're like kind of a lot of teams don't like coaching
skating,
like that's why like a lot of players they'll go to independently go to like different skating coaches around North America or the world really, because teams don't want to have to mold that because skating is such a hard thing to teach. So that's why teams might sometimes just say, we value this guy over this guy because he's just a much better skater.
Coyotes up next at 6. What are you doing, bud? What are you doing, buddy?
So for the Coyotes, I am going Andrew Cristal, the winger from Kelowna.
You popping the champagne with Cristal.
So my reasoning here is just, again, Coyotes, I do kind of feel bad for them. I know a lot of people didn't want Bedard going there because their organization is trash. Sorry, but that's just reality. But I actually kind of want him to go there to help turn around that team and finally make it somewhat successful. But in this case, I just went with Cristal, who's he's a player that they can build around. They have some young pieces up and coming. Will they do anything with those young pieces? I'm not sure. But I think adding Cristal to the mix is it's a good pick for them, especially now that we'll get into it later, but they have 2 first-round picks within the top 16.
They do. JD will be picking for them at 12. Also, they have the Sens pick. That would be number 12. Number 7, the Flyers. This one, kind of an easy pick for me, and it's the guy that didn't go at 5 for me, and it's Zach Benson. And the reason why I'm thinking that the center winger out of Winnipeg is I look at this Flyers team. To me, they already have their top line center. And so I look at it and I go, okay, you look at the size of Benson, 5'10", 159, ideally not your center. Ideally not a center, but like I look at him and it's like, okay, if he can play either of the wing positions for us, that's a win. He's got versatility. Maybe you put him at center in some situations, but could be more of a winger for you guys because, like, yet again, size probably isn't there to play center. But hey, I'm going to take it. We don't need him to be the center of the future. We already have that. We just need him to be a quality player, whether that's second line, third line center, or, and this is what I'm thinking more so, one of our wingers of the future, one of our top line wingers going forward. So that's why Zach Benson, 5 on a lot of big boards, but I got him going 7 to the Philadelphia Flyers. Yeah. JD, Capitals at 8. You got a shocker here, some may say.
Well, I will say if you didn't go Benson,
you were going to go Benson here?
I would have gone Benson here just because I think he is the best player available. But with that being said, I ended up going with the first defenseman off the board. Axel Sandin Pellikka. Now, my reasoning is Washington, their defense has crumbled. Their defense really folded this year. And if I am correct, I looked at this, I want to say about a week ago just because I was curious. But I don't think they have that many fantastic defensive prospects in their pool. So here I go with the best defenseman on the board. Now, what I found was interesting, but like you got to think about it like this. So Paleka, when he played U20, when he played U20, he put up 36 points as a defenseman, 16 goals, 20 assists in 31 games. So he's over a point per game for a defenseman, playing in his proper age group, which is good. Once he went up to the full SHL, the top Swedish league, he only had what was it? It was 5 points. Yeah, 5 points in 22 games. Now, I don't worry about that because he's going up against much older guys than him. So still, you got 5 points and he's played against men. That's what you want from your defenseman because he'll be able to come in the NHL a lot sooner and be prepared to play against guys who are a lot bigger than him. And at 5'11", 181, he's not small by any means, but he's still a kid. So, I mean, I'm not sure he'll hop right into the NHL right away, but give it 2 years maybe, and I think he'll be great defenseman for the Capitals.
Yeah, I mean they're a team that I'll be honest, I was kind of surprised that it looked like early on in the season they were playing well, and then they just kind of fell off a little bit. And I was surprised about that because obviously when you got a guy like Alexander Ovechkin, you expect the Capitals to be one of the best teams. Like, it's weird not seeing Ovi or Sidney Crosby in the playoffs, JD. I will say that. I know the Penguins just barely missed the playoffs, but it's weird seeing neither of those two guys in the playoffs right now.
And Father Time isn't going to be too kind to them. They don't much left.
Father Time is always undefeated. That's what they say, JD. Speaking of Father Time, a team that is older than time itself and has called itself Hockey Town, the Detroit Red Wings are up next. And for them, I look at their team, and first things first, did they need a center? No. They got their center of the future in Larkin, in my opinion. And I look at this team and I go, okay, what do you need? You need left wing help, so let's go and find you the best wing available. I'll be honest, I would if you're a Red Wing fan, I'm kind of sitting there and hoping that you're popping the Cristal, popping that champagne, because JD, I'll be honest, when we were going through this and kind of sorting these picks out beforehand, when you Coyotes, when you were like, I'm going to go with Andrew Cristal, I went, oh, like, oh, I wanted that for the Red Wings. However, we're not going to panic here. I just say, hey, let's go with the best true winger on the board. I'm going to go Edard Sale, the kid out of the Czech Republic, 6'1", 168. You don't have to worry about center. Like I said, you already got Larkin. I'm going to go wing and go with the best one off the board, Edard Sale, to the Red Wings at numero 9. This is a kid, I'm not going to spoil it, but I'll say this is the kid at 10 at the ace. You wanted to talk about, JD. You're making the pick for him. You get to make it for the Blues and then get to tell me all about him because apparently you're hyped about this kid.
Yeah, so with the Blues, I'm taking my boy for this year's draft.
Your boy?
My boy, Matthew Wood.
Why is he your boy?
Man, this is, again, full disclosure. I recently started getting back into the draft, like, after taking a few years off.
Yeah.
And Matthew Wood this year was the first player that I actually watched, like highlights, and I wouldn't really say a little bit of film because hockey film's kind of meh.
Playing at UConn, by the way. Wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, he's playing out of UConn, sorry. But he's just, man, again, Adam Fantelli, he's good. But with Matthew Wood, he's not going to be a top 3 pick, but whoever gets him outside the top 5, well, if he goes inside the top 5, I wouldn't be shocked, but whoever gets him outside of the top 5, they're getting a steal. This guy can put the puck in the net with the best of them. He's a big body, 6'3", 190 pounds as an 18-year-old. And you can't teach that. He's exactly what you want out of a center.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to scoring, I have it right here. His first year with the Huskies, in 35 games, he had 11 goals and 23 points, and that's as a freshman. Now, for you, Ricky, because you don't really follow college hockey,
Mm-hmm.
but that's rare. Usually, if you're playing, especially as a Canadian, usually if you're playing in the NCAA, they don't play you until you're 20 years old. And he's there as an 18-year-old, and he was just under a point per game with them as a rookie. Or as a freshman, I guess. That's unreal, and I'm excited to see what this kid does. He's going to be sticking in the NCAA, I would imagine, for another couple, like maybe 2-3 years, and I'm excited to see this kid grow with the Huskies over the period of time. He's such a fun prospect to watch.
He's your boy, JD. So Matthew Wood to you is like Will Levis to me.
Yeah.
Is that what this is? Oh, except better. By the way, JD, I know we're recording this during the game. I got to ask you now. Guess the score of the Knights Oilers game right now, just getting close to the end of the second. Who do you think's winning?
Oh, I would say the Oilers. Oilers 5-3.
The Knights are up 5-1 on the Oilers right now.
I don't like the Oilers.
They are blowing the doors off the place. And just so everyone knows, in our predictions, JD had Knights in 7. I had Oilers in 6, even though fan of the Golden Knights because of my girlfriend. She's pulled me over to that side, away from the Kraken, who are now finally good. But
finally after 2 years.
Finally after 2 years. You know, I couldn't bear that 1 year. I had to go over. No, but like I have Oilers, you have Golden Knights, 5-1 right now. The next pick, though, this one's an easy one for me. Canucks at 11. I mean, looking at team needs, the website I'm looking at is freeagentforecast.com. They literally have everything as low for the Canucks. Literally, I look at sites like that, JD, when they say that, and I go, thanks. Thanks for the no help. You gave me zero help. This team's in the top 11. They got to have something, JD, that they need. If you didn't have anything that you needed, why aren't you in the playoffs then? Also, This is a team, and I'm just going to go off on free agent forecast for a second. This is a team that was hitting the over almost every Canucks game. It's like, bet the over because they're going to let up a lot of goals and score a lot of goals. This one's simple to me. This is a guy that is falling on our draft board. He is ranked 7th on Tankathon. However, he is 5'11", which may be a little bit of a concern because he's a center. But I'm going the best center, committed to Minnesota. So he's going to go play with the Golden Gophers, then come to the Canucks. I'm going with Oliver Moore out of the USA, committed to the Golden Gophers. Had to just go off there because obviously a team in the lottery needs something, JD. There's got to be something that they need, right?
Yeah, well, there's a lot that they need.
It's just infuriating. It's just infuriating. Number 12, you have the Yotes second pick. Who are the Yotes taking via the Sens?
Well, we got their potential first line winger at 6. 6, and now we're gonna go with their hopeful first line potential franchise center with Braden Yeager, the center out of Moose Jaw. Now, I say that because they have Logan Cooley in their prospect pool, who is really freaking good. But anyways, Braden Yeager, I don't really know what happened to him this year. He didn't play in the he did. So he played in the WHL this year with Moose Jaw, and he had 78 points in 67 games. Now this guy, I honestly think he's more of a playmaker than a scorer. He will net you goals, but he's going to be looking to pass first and playing that more responsible center role. He's going to get back on defense. He's not going to be a liability out there. He, again, good size, 6 foot. I mean, you want him to gain some weight. He's only 165, so he's a little bit lanky.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, again, I'm not too worried about the weight because he is only 18.
Yeah.
And once he gets into an NHL organization, he'll get in those weight programs and be on proper nutrition and all that stuff, and he'll be able to gain that weight and hopefully help turn that franchise around.
Do you realize what you did with both Canadian picks, or not both Canadian picks, both Coyote picks?
What?
At number 6, you popped the Cristal. What are you doing at number 12? Jaeger bombs. You're popping the champagne with Cristal, and then you're slamming those Jaeger bombs at 12 with Brendan Jaeger. If they get drafted to the same team, I need shirts about popping Cristal and taking Jaeger bombs or something like that.
The Coyotes would be the team to do that since they play at Arizona State's campus now. So they'll have like Jaeger bomb
party
night
campus?
and Cristal night. they'll be Cristal night and Jaeger bomb night.
You have just given the Coyotes the best promotional gimmick and the 2 players to draft for it without even trying, JD.
Give me like 10 grand and we'll call it even.
Well, an American to Canadian, I don't know how that's going to transfer over. Right? American is worth more than a Looney?
Yeah, like whenever
or a Toonie, I don't even know what you call it anymore.
Whenever I go see my girlfriend and I take out American, like if I give like 500 Canadian, I only get like 360 Canadian or American. So
does that mean ours is worth more than yours, or yours is worth more?
Yeah, like our dollar's like trash.
Okay. Well, I mean, you got the English royalty on them still, right?
Yeah.
That's your problem right there.
That's a whole other topic for another time.
Not here in the good U.S. of A. We fought for freedom.
Yeah.
However, what pick are we on? Number 13, these Sabres. Yeah. I got this pick. This one to me was a debate, JD, because it was like what the position one was easy. It was going to be a center. But I'm going to ask you your thoughts after me making the pick. Like, I'll make the pick, I'll say what I did, and then I want to ask you what you would have done. So I am going with what's the name here? Dalibor Dvorsky. Hope I'm saying that right. Center winger, but I'm thinking I'll more play the wing because so it was either Dvorsky or Ryan Leonard. And the reason why I went Dvorsky is out of the two, Dvorsky's size, 6'1", 201, I liked better than 5'11", 281. So that's why I went Dvorsky. I want to ask you if you had this pick for the Sabres, would you have done the same thing and take Dvorsky, or would you have said, no, I'm going with the American who committed to Boston College in Ryan Leonard?
I actually would have gone with Dvorsky. I mean, his numbers aren't great over in Europe, but again, usually because the European leagues, they don't care about developing players for the NHL because the NHL just takes their talent from them, so they're gonna play.
They're a little salty about them taking their talent.
So they're just gonna play the best players and typically not the young players, right? So I don't really worry about that. I like the fact that he played overseas. And again, it just gets you more NHL ready, just playing with those bigger guys. So I think the Sabres, like, if the order falls the way it does, I think they'd be happy with getting Dvorsky there. Okay. And he could play sooner because the Sabres are also starting to become more of a win now team.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That makes sense. That Dvorsky. You get him, you could play him right away. Whereas Leonard, he's committed to Boston College. What, at least a year? Is it like the NBA where it's like they got to play at least a year in college?
A lot of time they play 2.
Yeah.
2, like, where they just finish their degree. Like, again, it depends on how old they're, because sometimes they get drafted at 18. And they, like I said, they don't play until they're 20.
Leonard right now is 18.3 years old. Yeah. So he just turned 18 a couple months ago.
So he's somebody who may not finish his degree because like then he won't be playing in the NHL for another like 5 years.
Yeah.
Which I just don't see happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, only time will really tell. He could be over in the NHL within 2 years if everything goes right.
JD number 14, who gets to play with Sidney Crosby with Malkin and the Penguins.
Well, the guy we also just talked about, Ryan Leonard. Now, my thinking here is, okay, so Ryan Leonard isn't going to play this year, and I know the Penguins aren't used to not being a playoff team, but this is a pick for the future.
I'm shocked they weren't. I'm shocked they fell off at the end because they were this close to a playoff team.
They really choked that one away. But this is a pick for the future. Their prospect pool is absolutely depleted, and I think, unfortunately, because I love Crosby, I think this is where their rebuild's going to start. So they're going to go with Ryan Leonard, and he's going to be he could be one of the first guys up from in a couple of years for their now going to be rebuild.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, if you're a Penguins fan, you probably want a guy who could potentially play by the end of next season or early the season after. But I think this is just a pick you got to go for the future here.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They're a team that, yet again, like these last 4 picks, Sabres were almost a playoff team. Penguins were almost a playoff team. The team I'm picking for next at 15, almost a playoff team. For them, I'm going with a position that they direly need. And I'm going to go with Colby Barlow, the left winger, the Canadian, just because it's like at this point, as we start getting into the playoff teams or the just misses, it's almost like you told me, like, okay, in this range, don't think about like reaches. Think about, okay, what do we need and what player do we like? And it's like, if you need a guy who's going to play a left wing, it was either I was thinking like what Barlow or like the top guy would have been, Gabe Peralt, the American going to Boston College. But like he's going to Boston College. You can also with Barlow, Canadian, he can come and play right away. Like, even if he goes down to the AHL, you still have control of him. He's not playing in college for 1, 2, maybe 3 years.
Wait,
so go ahead.
I will just interject. He can't play in the AHL since he comes from junior because he's not. You have to be over 20 to play.
Then what? He's just on the NHL roster, right?
They'll probably put him back at Owen Sound.
Okay. So and then he just plays there the whole year.
Yeah, because basically how it works is if you come from the CHL, so the Canadian Junior programs, they basically make you like you can't play in the AHL, so it's one or the other. And then, but let's say you are.
I don't know if I like that anymore.
Once you like become 20, I think it is. They basically say okay, or 21 in some cases. They're like, all right, you're too old, so now you play in the AHL. But yeah, so they have to play usually like 2 or 3 more years in.
So if they drafted Barlow, he wouldn't come over and play in the NHL right away?
He could if he makes the team, but if he doesn't make the team, then he can't play in the AHL. He has to play in either the NHL or the OHL.
That's still my pick, but if at our next mock draft, I would have to be certain that who I'm drafting here for the Preds is going to come in and make the team. I wouldn't pick someone who I would have to let them play in the OHL again because I want someone that's going to help me make the playoffs because this is a fringe playoff team.
Yeah, like sometimes it puts prospects in a crappy position because hypothetically, right? Let's say Connor Bedard wasn't doing good in the NHL, right? Yeah. So he got sent down. Well, he doesn't need to prove anything in the WHL because he's getting over like 150 points a season. So what more can he prove, right? So it would be good for him to play in like the AHL, but they just it's not allowed because the NHL's relationship with the CHL is very strong. Yeah, so it's kind of like the NHL scratching the CHL's back.
That pick might change in our next mock draft, but ending it, the last almost playoff team. Who do the Flames take at 16 to round this post-lottery draft out, JD?
So the Flames are taking Mikhail Gulyayev, the defenseman out of Omsk. I'm sorry, I can't speak Russian. So, anyways, Russian KHL team.
Mm-hmm. You can just say
So,
out of Russia.
yeah. So he's So again, basically, the Flames are in a really interesting position. They just fired their head coach and GM.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know what direction they're going to go. I'm going to assume that they're going to try to be a playoff team again next year. But that defense really, defense and goaltending let them down this year.
Yeah.
They're just as a collective whole, they couldn't put the puck out or keep the puck out of their net.
Mm-hmm.
And with Gulyayev, he's more of an offensive defenseman, but he's a fantastic skater. He can move the puck, which is obviously important. And this year, he played in all three major leagues out of Russia. He played in the KHL. He didn't do very well, but he had 1 or 2 points in 13 games. Then he played in the VHL, which is like their version of the AHL.
Yeah.
And he had 4 points in 12 games. But then he played in the MHL, which is their version of the CHL.
Mm-hmm.
So he's playing with kids his age, and he puts up 22 games and 25 points as a defenseman. So
not bad.
So clearly that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good that it's good he got to play in all 3 levels this year.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to guess, next year he probably spend most of his time in the VHL because he is only 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'll be really interesting to see how he plays against men instead of kids his age.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's a great pick. He's not really the defensive stalwart you want for the Flames, but you just need defensemen. You need guys who can move the puck, break out the puck, and get you a little more offense back there as well.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something, JD, that I hope we do a lot more of. I hope we have a 2.0. I say that because this is us venturing into this. I'm sure maybe we see the rest of this NHL draft season out. But JD and I thought, hey, lottery's tonight as we're recording this on Monday. This is going to come out right away just because, hey, lottery happened. Want to get things out right away in that point. But let us know if you guys would like to see a 2.0 in the future for this. And also, if we talk about anybody that's one of your teams, let us know what you guys think about any of the picks that we talked about today. JD and I will be back. Obviously, we're next NHL video we're doing for sure is after the second round. We'll be back to talk about the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference finals. And then we'll be obviously back to preview the Stanley Cup when that happens and talk about the Stanley Cup after it's over. But JD, I want to thank you for, we made history today. We made history. The first, even though it wasn't a full one, the next one will be history also because it'll be the first full mock draft for the NHL draft. But this is the first mock draft that we've ever done for the NHL. And let us know what you guys think down below. Remember, if you want to support us, check out our Patreon page or become a member. Links down in the description. And join the Discord. Great community, best community in the internet. Join the MVP Discord. That link is free down in the description. I want to thank JD for making picks with me, talking some hockey, and doing this mock draft. And I want to thank you guys for watching, listening, commenting, doing everything you do. We wouldn't be able to do this without the love and support that you guys give us. I want to thank you guys for everything that you do. And as always, have a good day, everybody. As always, we'd like to thank the people that make these videos possible, our patrons whose names are displayed on the screen now. If you would like to become a patron, go ahead and click the Patreon icon in the bottom right. And if you'd like to check out another video from MVP Sports, hit the video in the upper left. As always, thanks for watching.